On this week's Carrier Wrap, we speak with Roger Entner from Recon Analytics to talk a bit about the latest carrier results, Verizon's recent deal with Yahoo, and get an update on the ongoing 600 megahertz spectrum auction. Well, hey, thanks everyone for joining us in this week's Carrier Wrap. I'm your host, Dan Meyer, Editor-in-Chief here at RCR Wireless News. And this week, we are again fortunate to be joined by Roger Entner, who's the founder of Recon Analytics, to talk a bit about the telecom space. So Roger, thanks again for joining us this week. We appreciate it.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
Very good. Well, hey, let's start off with a lot of news happening in the carrier space over the past couple of weeks. Maybe we'll start off with, obviously, the carrier results have recently come out. I think AT&T reported first, and then Sprint, and then Verizon most recently. So maybe get an overview from you, maybe what you saw in those numbers. I don't know if you want to take it, carrier by carrier, or what you saw in the numbers.
Well, overall, everybody had a good quarter. What is good, depends on the carrier.
It's a different day.
Overall, the things moved into the right direction. AT&T's plan, for example, of selling bundles, optimizing the financial position of its wireless group worked out. They reduced their postpaid subscriber losses significantly, within striking distance of probably going positive again. Things are going well there, at least in the right direction. Sprint gained subscribers. Now, if you offer 50% off, you should gain. The financials looked pretty, but if you don't invest in your network, then you take major cost out of it, and you reduced advertising, and more subscriber got it. Now, if you follow that logic, Sprint should even get more advertising. Or should even get less advertising to get more subscribers, maybe not advertise at all. No, it just shows you what good advertising does versus bad advertising. Because, if you throw manure at the wall, it's not going to do as much.
Yes.
So if they have better advertising that
actually
communicates the message well, they have to spend less.
Yeah, and I guess on that Sprint, again, like their CapEx was dramatically lower. They talked a lot on their call about the fact that, hey, we spent a lot of money over the past 5 or 6 years with network vision, so now we don't need to spend as much. There does seem to be a lot of question about what that really means. It's hard to kind of be talking about growing your network capacity and stuff without spending money. It seems like they're kind of trying to trying to take both sides there, in terms of talking up their network, but also spending less on their network.
Well, in a way, yes, they spend a lot of money in improving the network, and it got better. Is it the best network in America? No. Does the distance between you and other networks get smaller by you spending less? I highly doubt that. But they have a great spectrum position, so they can do 3-carrier aggregation. They're betting on the bigger markets. Now, if you're in more of the rural parts, you're out of luck. They basically stopped building out their wide area network and are focusing almost exclusively on small cells. Overall, I don't think you need to consistently invest in your network in this country. Otherwise, sooner or later, definitely later, you will pay for it.
Yes. And that seems to be a concern, I think, right now, is that people are concerned that Sprint is taking such a very short-term view of this. Obviously, they need to turn on their financials to make their investors happy, and investors seem to be happy this week, at least with Sprint. But yeah, that long-term picture, that's the question there.
They can't declare victory over the network quality and say, we won, now we can go home. When others are investing billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And you can see what consistent investment in the network does, most notably in the example of T-Mobile, going from worst to very good. When you look at a lot of measures, they're now second. That should be what consistent investment does. And so
that seems to be that's going to be the challenge for Sprint. It seems like, is making sure that they don't. I mean, again, I think they reiterated their plans for at least $3 billion in capex this year, which is still pretty low. But I guess when you see what they spent in one quarter, $3 billion seems like a nice bump coming up at some point. But it's still
this quarter they spend less than $400 million. That's probably below maintenance capex. That's the problem, So you're living off your substance. Now they have to pay their debtors. I think that's absolutely critical. But SoftBank is investing quite happily quite a lot of money in other places and in other countries. So it's not a shortage of money. It's
maybe a shortage of focus, maybe for SoftBank. They've kind of have found their new squirrel to chase with ARM, I guess, and moving off the Sprint.
And you don't want Sprint to turn into a piggy bank with a black hole in the middle. It's Sprint. I'm glad that Sprint is doing better. I think the acid test will be when they stop giving their service away for 50% off.
And they've talked about that. They did say that that's their plan, is to eventually wean customers off of that, and we'll see how that plays out. Again, they mentioned the iPhone coming out, maybe a new rate plan tied to that. So we'll see. But yeah, you're right. That's going to be a big challenge for them. Is to keep.
We see these trials of $60 for unlimited data. Of course, consumers like it. But I thought the advertising here was very, very interesting for that, because it said like, oh, you have unlimited video. You can watch as much of that as you want to. And everything else is free too. It's like, it seemed like that they needed to explain the customers what truly unlimited means, because they're like, oh, okay. But it will be interesting. We had a lot of news from Verizon.
Verizon announced here recently that their results also seem to be maybe a little mixed. I mean, obviously they had that labor strike that kind of impacted wireline, but they had a big announcement this week as well with the Yahoo deal now. What was your view, I guess, on the results and also the Yahoo impact there?
Well, I think the results were also in the right direction. They still were impacted by the strike. Quite a few tablets were in the mix. But that's always popular. If you want to pretty up your numbers, you're throwing. They saw a lot of tablets roll off from the promotions from 2 years ago. For me, the Yahoo acquisition is the second step in that move towards becoming a wireless internet company. And it fits very nicely together with the AOL assets. Now they simply bought more inventory in which they can sell their advertising into. And I think that's quite significant. And they were always looking for new opportunities that have a B in it when it comes to revenue and profits. And even if they get half of their share, half of the share that they're having in wireless in mobile advertising, that's $4 or $5 billion in revenue, and they're getting more than that. So it makes a material impact. The company is moving in that direction, and what you see is that the wireline and the enterprise revenues are, as a percentage of sales, going to get smaller over time. Now, it was very interesting when Lowell talked about the 5G, the fixed 5G trials, and that they would launch a network by 2017.
Yeah.
They also threw down the gauntlet essentially by saying, oh, we're not going to be tied to our old footprint here in the new Northeast. That would be like an extension of like an all-out war where even the fixed competition goes nationwide. Because as of right now, they only competed with the cable guys, but with AT&T going nationwide with its direct TV offer, they're becoming an effective competitor to Verizon. So it looks like competition is certainly heating up.
Yeah.
Also, which is kind of funny, right at the time when regulation goes up. And when you look at what Verizon does, it's investing in unregulated businesses. And so that's the impact of regulation here. You're putting your eggs in an unregulated growth basket rather than in a regulated or exclusively in a regulated market. Be careful what you wish for. You might get it from an FCC's perspective.
Yeah, that's true.
So, there's the privacy NPRM at the FCC that would severely restrict a company like Verizon from using their wireless and wireline information they get from that operation for advertising with opt-in for their own services and opt-out for marketing third-party people. Opt-out is a nice way of saying no way, Jose. 5% of people opt into advertising. I would like to know and meet. We should find some people who do.
Yeah, exactly. Who does that?
Would be very interesting to see who. But there's nothing stopping them from using the information that they're gathering through AOL and the Yahoo assets, which are largely unregulated, to do the same targeting. And when you visit a mobile website, you basically say, hi, I'm Roger. This is my phone number. This is my carrier. And this is my device. Please give me the right content. Oh, you mean advertising? Yes. So that's where that just shows the travesty when you regulate one part of the market, but not the other one of the market. There are ways always around it. Yeah. Oh, didn't see that one coming, right?
Yeah.
So the only, cloud that I see there on the horizon, but that affects everybody in digital advertising, are ad blockers and cookie blockers, because that's going to be really interesting. Yeah. My business model is to sell advertising, and you can have ad blockers everywhere. And when you look towards Europe, in Europe you had a lot of companies prohibiting access to their website. Yeah. And the European Court of Justice, which is like the highest European court, said that's not legal. You cannot prevent them to access the thing if they have an ad blocker in there. Now, I look at some of the European sites that had that. They still haven't followed the law there or the ruling there. So we'll see what happens, In America, you diss a judge at your own peril.
Yeah, yeah.
Very testy. Maybe in Europe they're a little bit more lenient when they get ignored, but I doubt it. So, and since we have this transatlantic echo chamber when it comes to regulation,
yeah,
I would expect the U.S. to probably follow suit.
Yeah.
And then with more and more people blocking and preventing cookies, that makes, and using VPNs, that makes like profiling a lot more difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
You almost have to look at a world where, how do they do advertising targeting without cookies?
Yep.
That would be very, very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Again, if some firm can come up with a way to do that, I'm sure this technology, they're working on to make that happen, because cookies do seem to have a bad name now. So I'm sure they're trying to figure out a different way to do that and not use that same model, I would guess.
But a friend of mine, he uses exclusively the incognito mode, and so every time he visits a website, new customer.
Yeah.
So it's very, very interesting what's going on in that market, and we'll see. 30% already have app blockers and cookie blockers.
Yeah.
It turns into a problem. Dirty little secret.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see what Verizon does there, because again, they have spent. They've spent almost $10 billion now, really, on these two acquisitions with AOL and with Yahoo. And now they folded their Go90 into there as well. So they're putting some money into this operation.
Yes.
But again, the future of it seems maybe internally they've got a clearer picture of what they're trying to do. It seems externally there's so many challenges still involved with it that I would think as an investor or somebody look at the company, you have to be a little bit concerned about where they're going with it.
No, because I wouldn't be that concerned, because when I look at especially Yahoo,
Mm-hmm.
they were suffering from so many executional problems. If one thing Verizon has, it's execution in spades. This is a company that executes. They usually come up with a good plan, and then they put their head down and execute.
Yeah.
The problem with Yahoo has always been every 2 or 3 years they had a new CEO with a new strategy, going exactly the opposite direction, and wondering why they never moved from the same place where they were.
Yeah.
Because one CEO moved 5 foot down and the other one moved 5 foot back. Oh, gee, we're back at the same spot. That's why everybody else could run circles around them, because and look at it. Look at their properties.
Yeah.
It's almost like a historic, like almost sometimes a museum.
Yeah.
For example, but the fact that their audience is still the third largest in the U.S. shows you the resilience of the asset underneath.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody would just do something good with it, and I think Verizon has the has the discipline and the work ethic for that. They also have the smarts. I always say part of the reasons why AOL is now so successful, and they just had another record quarter again, is because they largely left them in peace.
Yeah.
Which takes a lot of discipline, because usually you don't buy a company to leave them in peace. But I think they gave them the right assets and tools and funding to let them do the right thing, and then not be the
overbearing parent when you come in there.
The overbearing parent that smothers all innovation.
Yeah,
I think they found a pretty good balance there, and I loved when Lowell said on the earnings call, well, I have to disappoint you, there's no reorg. We had enough other things. But
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, the Yahoo assets, obviously, like you said, it's a very viable and valuable brand. But yeah, it was just a matter of, it seemed like desperation internally was just stifling what they were trying to do going forward. They just couldn't figure out what to do because they were desperate to do something. They weren't sure what. So it was just kind of this mix going on inside. So it was interesting. So we'll see how that plays out with them. So, another topic I wanted to cover a bit was looking at the speaking of the regulatory front, the ongoing auction proceedings going on. It seemed for a while there that we're making some progress, and then recently the reverse auction first stage of it, I guess, finished up, and the broadcasters came back, basically saying that they wanted $86 billion, I guess, to clear all that spectrum that the FCC wanted to clear. And so that seemed to kind of cause maybe some ripples across the market about where are we now? What's next?
Well, what it confirmed is that there were very elevated expectations. Let's be charitable here. we're going to go through a forward round, which will show that it's not going to be 80. CTI and others said, why don't we cut to the chase and not, prove again of the insanity that's persisting by doing a goal at doing a reverse auction at 110 and at 96.
Yep.
And basically why can't we jump it to a more reasonable number so that all the floozies who think that their personal thing is worth tens of billions of dollars are leaving the auctions, and the serious and sane people are actually in it. The FCC said no, which basically means that now the 5G spectrum is Chairman Wheeler's greatest achievement of his term, and not the incentive auction, because that will not finish until 2017 at this part.
Yeah.
So otherwise, he would have the choice between two key achievements, on top of net neutrality and other things he likes to put on his resume.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, I guess that's kind of where we are now, is the fact that, we'll see what the forward auction brings, at least the first stage of it. But like you said, no one expects the any bidders to push it up that high. I mean, again, it's valuable spectrum, but that amount of money is just way out of control. And you're right, the FCC seemed to have painted itself in a corner, though, when it came out kind of brashly saying, hey, we're going to do 126 megahertz cleared, or 126 megahertz, we'll clear 100 megahertz for carriers. And move forward like that. It seemed like a pretty, they seemed very confident about it.
Exactly, but now why not jump like two down, and then we're getting much closer.
Yeah.
With the next one at 110, we're just confirming insanity again. Yeah. Thank you very much. We got it the last time around, and we're wasting time.
I guess what we'll see, in the forward auction that'll start here next month, I guess we'll at least get an idea of where carriers are, or where bidders are, in terms of what they maybe want to spend. And so I'm guessing after that, we'll get a better idea. And then maybe the FCC will, at that point, kind of see the writing on the wall and make moves.
Yeah, maybe the FCC is right, and the bidders want to spend $75 million, and that means that we only have to go through one round of reverse auction. But some of their favorite bidders, like social media, unceremoniously didn't show up with money.
Yes.
What happened? Oh.
Yeah. Looking at the list of the qualified forward auction bidders, it was the same names we've seen over the past 20 years. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no one knew. So you can't expect these guys to now, there's not a new source of money coming in. Obviously, maybe Comcast involved, but Comcast has been involved in past auctions and has never really been too aggressive. So
exactly. And if in their right mind, they will get into it with an MVNO first a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it has failed before. What has changed? And the market is more saturated than at any other time before when they tried and failed.
Yeah.
So why would it work in a considerably more adverse market situation with 100% plus penetration work suddenly better? I always look at it like, in the wireline market, when you have a new entrant coming into a new fiber market with video, very quickly you see that about 40% of the people are buying on features. So what's the better thing? And they buy it. Then the next 20% are buying on price. That's why, for example, here in Boston, since for a couple of years, they're now throwing around TVs, $300 prepaid card, which basically I was like, oh, it means that the tech buyers are all happy. I'm looking forward to the reverse happening when the cable guys will get DOCSIS 3.1 with gigabit server. Yeah. That would be very, very interesting what will happen there on the wireline side. Yeah. But when I look, and then 40% just don't care. They like what they have. La, 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 I can't hear you. No, I don't want to save money. No, I don't want to have a better picture. No, I don't want to faster download. I'm happy with where we are. When you translate that to wireless, the numbers might be a little bit off. Yeah. But I'm really challenged to see what Comcast can offer that, for example, an AT&T can't. I don't think they will be able to undercut everybody else on price. Would be very funny with, what our good friend John Ledger has to say then, if they do that, and then the rest is happy where they are. Yeah. So, now we're waiting for T-Mobile. That should be fun.
Yeah, that's always good. Always good to get their commentary on what's happening in the market. So that'll be fun to get their stuff going on too. But yeah.
One of the things that I started to look at is they made such a nice big splash with their Tuesdays program. They made Domino's run out of doors. It's what's next?
Well, I noticed this week they don't have their free Wendy's Frosties anymore, so they must have scared Wendy's away.
Ran out of Frosties too.
Yeah.
So on one hand, yes, they're mixing it up, but when you read on the Premier website to have the finger on the pulse of the people, Reddit. When you look at the T-Mobile thread around the offers, there is some discontent coming. Some of the people, and they might be a vocal few, are like, oh my God, I'm no longer getting these unbelievable deals that are bigger than what I paid for my wireless service. Well, of course it couldn't last like that. Money doesn't grow on tree, at least not where I live.
Well, out here in Colorado, where I'm at, they've legalized that growing around here, so we can find that.
Good.
Anyway, but you're right. No, that whole T-Mobile promotion is definitely kind of withered. It seems on the vine a bit. They did, like you said, they made a big deal about it, and watching it kind of week by week, it has definitely slowed.
It ripples out. But it had to ripple out. Yeah. From a rational perspective. Yeah. A loyalty offer has to be, and I still think is meaningful, but it has to be measured. Yeah. I think it's one of those things where everybody is now playing around with it. Can't wait for Sprint to launch one, but it has to be within the realms of the reasonable and something that's useful all the time. So yeah. But now I think even the video offer is gone, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now it's just like a Lyft ride and a hotel or something like that. A hotel stay. That's all it really is at this point. So yeah.
So funny. It was so funny. On the Reddit thread, somebody was complaining, why do I get $20 off Condé Nast? What would I do with a French magazine? I can't speak French. I'm like, Jesus. Oh.
The vocal minority. You gotta love them.
Vox populi, vox dei. It explains so much,
Yeah, that's crazy, but yeah, that's true. But yeah, I guess we'll see again when they announce the results. We'll see what's happening there. And I've been hearing some rumors that they might have another carrier announcement here coming up soon as well. So
maybe the momentum has to keep going.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see in the numbers too. I mean, if the numbers are still solid, maybe there's not as much pressure on them to make a move. But again, Sprint was saying that their port-in numbers for the quarter where we're positive port across everybody. So, perhaps
half
they're
off, it's like
true.
Half off. There's not really a big phone that drives any movement. So right now it's a pretty steady state.
Yeah.
Less people are upgrading their phones as predicted. Remember I did the analysis way back when, and I told the carriers and everybody, don't do it.
Yeah.
And they decided to do it. Oh, no, people will buy more handsets. No, they will buy less. And guess what? People buying fewer handsets than in a long time. Not a long time. But handsets are going down. Handset sales are going down.
Yeah, no, you're right. I remember you put that report out, and you're right. It was at a time when everybody was saying, no, it's going to keep going. It's going to keep going. But it seems like the innovation in terms of handsets has plateaued so much that, consumers are wising up to the fact that, why am I buying a new phone every year? I'm not getting anything. Why should I keep doing this? Well,
it's not only that the incremental improvement has been smaller, but in a service plan, it was buy it or lose it.
Yeah.
Or buy it. The rational thing to do was buy a new phone, and everybody benefited from it. Now the rational thing is hold on to that thing, unless you're into your fashion buyer, your technology fetishist. It's your personal status symbol that you have to pull out everywhere. Look, I have the biggest, baddest, newest phone every month. For that segment, yes.
Yeah.
But the rational people are just like the people who buy their car and pay it off and drive it until it breaks, and other people lease it and have a new car every couple of years.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
But that's it's sad, but satisfying at the same time. That
you called it. Yeah, when you call something like that,
calls come true.
Yeah. That just shows you every once in a while, analysts will get things right. Not all the time. No. Sometimes.
Even a blind chicken finds a corn. It's like.
Yes, it happens. It happens. Well, very good. Well, hey, Roger, we definitely appreciate the insights. Obviously, a lot happening in the space. And again, we'll get some T-Mobile numbers, and with the auction going on as well, as that progresses, I'm sure we'll get
we will talk about that auction for a couple of episodes.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot. You're right. That's going to be, like you said, a 2017 event, it looks like at this point. I know the FCC was hoping to get it done perhaps before the election, but that looks like that's not going to happen at all at this point. No. We'll see what goes on there.
Not at this path. If they would come down with their target, yes, but no.
Yeah. At this point, it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. So I guess we'll see how that plays out. But again, definitely appreciate the time and insight today. Always great to talk to you. Thanks so much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
Well, thanks for watching this week's show, and make sure to check us out again next week when we are scheduled to speak with Dan Hayes from PwC Strategy and Division. Thanks for watching.